Hey everyone watching on powphenom, and today we're back with the streaker cart or yard cart or whatever you want to call it. Again, I don't know the name of it, but we're not working on the frame today. That's why it's still against the wall, because yesterday I picked up the engine for it. So this engine is a former racing go-kart, like dirt track go-kart engine, as you can see with the style exhaust, how it dumps down. It came out of, I believe, a flat cart is what the guy told me, a flathead cart or something like that. And the history of this is that the guy used to race back in like 2014, 2015, he said. And around then he got out of racing because he just decided to stop doing it. But he sold the go-kart and he kept the engine. He had two of these engines for sale. They're both identical, he said. They're home built. He doesn't know the specs of them. I don't know the specs of them, but he said they are built. It does turn over. It hasn't started since 2015, and he believes that it's just the carburetor, and that's what I believe. It doesn't start right now. It does have gas in it. It does have oil in it, and yeah. This is an all-out race engine, from what I've been told. It runs on 93, which is good. I was afraid it was only going to run on like alcohol or methanol or something stupid like that, but it runs on 93, which is good enough for me. Yeah, it does have the chain guard and all that. It's got the, you know, the cool looking race exhaust, so it's probably extremely loud. And it's going to be going in that go-kart, so stay tuned. So now my goal in this video is to try and get this thing fired up. I don't see why it shouldn't fire up, because all I really need to do is clean out the carburetor. And I do believe I have a carburetor exactly like that that should bolt right up to this, honestly, sitting somewhere in my garage. I don't know where, but I believe I have a matching carburetor that should work just fine in case that one's no good or something like that. But I don't see why a simple cleaning shouldn't get this engine to fire up. So first off, what I want to do, I want to check it for spark and see, you know, make sure it has spark and all that. And if it has spark, then I'll move on to the carburetor and clean out the carburetor, and then from there, I don't see why it shouldn't fire up. Okay, so something really odd about this. Just now I noticed that the spark plug was only halfway threaded in, which is something weird. I don't know why that was. Maybe the dude before was checking it for spark, or maybe he tried to start it before he sold it. I don't know. He didn't tell me or whatever, but it sure does look like this hasn't been touched in forever. So I'm gonna just quickly connect the spark plug wire to the spark plug. And you just, basically all you do to check spark on one of these engines, you can't really see it. You just take the plug, the end of it, and you ground it to something, typically the cylinder head, right there. So I'm just going to ground it right there, and turn the ignition on, which is there. I'm going to give it a couple pulls real quick. Oh yeah, we have great spark. There is plenty of spark on this engine. Yep. Perfect. So this engine does have sparks, so that means we're all good on that end. I'm going to put the spark plug back in fully, because like I said, I have no idea why the spark plug was only halfway in. But the engine does have spark, which is good, which tells me the ignition is working, the coil is gapped properly, and that the spark plug is good and the wire is good. So now the next part is to check the carburetor. Alright, so real quick, as you can see, the go-kart, as you can see, the engine is on the go-kart frame. That's because the clearance between the exhaust, which is back here, and the carburetor to the ground is like is little to nothing, basically. So I just kind of put it up here, so that way the when I drop the float ball, whatever comes out is going to come out. I'm not going to pull the whole carburetor out because I don't really feel like I need to. I'm very confident with this engine. So real quick, I'm just gonna take this little this wrench here and crack the float bowl. Okay, I'm pretty sure the petcock is on. Okay, yeah, that's off. All right, so now the petcock is off. All right, so now I know I need to. Everything on this engine is stripped off. Even the choke is gone, which is pretty common for racing engines to have no choke. There it goes, and it is kind of gummed up in there, as you can see. Hopefully the camera picks it up. So all I'm going to do is just spray some carb cleaner in there and put it back on. The float is not stuck, which is good. I'm just going to spray some carb clean in there and put it back together. Now, I know it'd be ideal to take the jets out and stuff, but I'm pretty confident that I don't need to do that. Okay, the float bowl is back on. Now it's time to try and fire this engine up. I'm pretty excited to hear how this exhaust sounds. I mean, I've heard these dirt track and circle track go-karts before. I've never heard one in a garage, so I'm expecting this to be pretty loud. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know any specs on this engine. I don't know if it has a cam or anything like that. I mean, I could probably later on, if this engine does run, I'll wind up pulling the valve cover off and like the crankcase and just see what goodies are in there to see if this engine really is built. A couple slow pulls. Fuel on, and ignition. Fire. Oh, so close. Alright guys, so we're back here the next day. I had to go and do something yesterday, unfortunately, which interrupted the process of me getting this engine in the go-kart today. And well, today, now is the day I can get this engine in. And so you see I have everything outside. It's very nice out. It's just a little bit too sunny, which is why I got the sunglasses on. Engine's out. I got the bolts to mount it and the go-kart itself. So as you saw in the last clip, I got the engine to run. It fired up pretty good. This engine doesn't have a choke, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to start, but it does run. And I have to bolt it down to get this thing to really run because, well, it was shaking so much that I couldn't hold it down, and I don't want to damage the engine with it vibrating on the ground like that. You know, I've heard that you can crack stuff or damage something with it running on the ground like that. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to jack up the go-kart, bolt this down, and we should be good to fire it up again. Okay, so I just got the motor all mounted down. The last one was extremely annoying to get in, that one right there. I had to kind of remove that one. They're all hand tight. That's just a tip when you're mounting these engines up. Always finger tight the bolts before actually snugging them down. Okay, so the motor's all tightened down. Shake the whole go-kart now. So now it's time to fire this thing up a second time. So the first time I fired it up in there and it was extremely loud. I actually went back and checked out the footage before the camera died, and it really didn't do the justice of on how loud this thing really was. So I'm pretty excited to hear it again. Like I said, I only ran it for like 15 seconds. Again, I'm going to give it a couple slow pulls. The ignition off. Everything all circulated. On. Let's give it a pull. Let it warm up. It is super loud down here. It is really loud. You let it warm up, and sounds like it's warming up now. Alright, so as you heard, I tried giving it a couple revs. I do need to clean the carburetor on it. Sounds like a bit more because it was wanting to bog down when I gave it a little bit too much gas. I don't know if that was just because it wasn't fully warmed up, but it does. I do believe I just need to take off the carburetor fully, pull the jets out, and clean them out really good, because like I said, this engine hasn't ran legitimately in around 6 years, 7 years. But anyway, I think this is going to be a great engine for this little go-kart. It's definitely going to be a quick little screamer. It's going to be going down the road pretty quickly. But leave a comment down below telling me what you think of this engine, and should I keep it in this, or maybe I should go for something a little bit more different. Okay, so it's been a little bit since I've actually ran this engine. It ran last week, so I'm just going to give it a couple slow pulls with the ignition off. See if she'll run. So it's definitely running better, it sounds. Just gonna put some engine heat in it and see if she'll rev this time. Yeah, you can still choke it out with the throttle, so